Hi everyone, it's Christine from Finding Dharma. So I'm trying something new. I wanted to do an energy reading for June. So over the past, I don't know, year or two, maybe even longer than that, I've been noticing that there are certain common experiences that we all are sharing along this journey, this path that we're on. So, for instance, I'll be having a lot of things come up that trigger me around partnerships or around friendships or around body or thought patterns. And as I talk to others or as I watch YouTubers talk about what they're going through in that moment, it kind of feels like a lot of us have this same theme going through our lives at that moment. So that's kind of inspired me to do this and to share what I'm going through and what I'm picking up on, because I feel like there's a community out there that we can create around sharing an experience, around going on this journey of life together. And that's the whole reason behind Finding Dharma anyway. So here I am at my desk. I've actually decided that I wanted to draw 5 cards, which I did beforehand because shuffling for me can be a complete chaotic mess. So I did it beforehand. And then I just have some basic themes that are already coming up for me in June. And, maybe they'll resonate with you, maybe a few will and some won't. Or maybe they'll just kind of get you to thinking and build an awareness in you to see if maybe these themes are something that's going on, but you haven't really taken notice of them, and they've just kind of been bringing up feelings, emotions, stresses in your life, or even maybe joys. A lot of what I'm going to be sharing here is about things that have been triggering me, things that I've been realizing about what I struggle with, what I am kind of evolving into. So what I found is a lot of times themes that we each tend to have a few themes that take us through our whole lifetime. So they're based on deeper wounds that we have either from childhood or from past lives that we chose to address when we incarnated in this life. So your natal astrology charts usually point that out for you, but maybe you just have this innate sense that these are the patterns in your life that keep coming up and you keep getting challenged by. And for me, it's kind of a slow unraveling that they have been, my spirit guides, my spirit team has been helping me unravel these things slowly so that I'm not overwhelmed, slowly so that I can truly dive deep if I want to and really heal what's going on. So that is what I'm going to share with you, what has kind of come up for me so far since the start of June. And we'll see, we'll go from there. So one of the main themes of Finding Dharma, and I think of all our lives here, is mastering self. And that's the first thing that kind of came to me. But it came to me because we are in June, which is the 6th month, and we're in a number 5 year. So if you take 2021, you add the 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1, you get a 5. A 6 month and a 5 year together are an 11. And that's where I got the mastering self from. So 11 and 22 and 33, those are all master numbers. So it amplifies the significance, the numerology of the 1 or the 2 or the 3. But it also, on its own, as the number 11 or as the number 22, points to a very particular in-depth path and role that month or that person, if they carry that as their birth number, has. So to me, this month is really about mastering self. There's going to be lots of opportunities that come up, allowing us to look within, to develop that awareness. There's going to be triggers. There's going to be situations, opportunities in our lives that are going to be given us where we can really dive deep if we want to. And it's going to be all about self-awareness, about fostering a space within ourselves to allow our authenticity, both our shadow side and our light side of authenticity, to come forward. It's a master teacher number as well. So to me, that means that this month is all about those opportunities. They want us to dive deep. They want us to see all of these opportunities and to embrace them, even if they take us to a place where it's not so comfortable. It doesn't feel good. Sometimes an awareness of what's going on inside in certain situations, in confrontations, in truths that we learn about ourselves, it can be a really icky place to be. But that's where growth happens. So those opportunities, you don't have to stay in the icky place, but you have to acknowledge that in that moment, that's where you're at, and that you're being given this awareness in that moment for a reason. So I'm going to share with you a few things that have come up for me in that overarching theme of mastering self and Master Teacher Month. So I've been triggered by certain spiritual teachers that I tend to watch on a regular basis, either on social media, on various social media, who take a very strong stance that their truth is the truth, number one. So anyone that doesn't believe or live their lives the same way, they are implying, so they don't come out directly and say it, but they imply that it's wrong because it's not the way they are seeing it. Now, when you have a trigger moment, you have to own it. So I am owning it and saying that the implication is me obviously reading between the lines and interpreting what they're saying through my filters. So, trigger moment, self-awareness, master teacher moment. I need to look at myself and I need to figure out, A, why I interpret their words if they're not explicitly stated in that way. B, why someone stating their truth. I'm trying to think of the way to word this. So they're stating their truth without using words of judgment. So they were giving what they believe was the best and right choice for them. And if I believe or choose differently, I feel judged by them. So they weren't necessarily judging me at all, but they were being very firm in understanding where they stood. There is something in that I need to look at. So June is going to be about those kinds of moments. And if we can take ownership when we're triggered by something or someone, if we can take ownership of that trigger moment and acknowledge that it's not about what the other person said or did, but it's about me and how I'm accepting that and how I'm letting it affect me, then we can begin the healing. And through the healing, the self-empowerment. So, the second thing that I had come to me, which was actually just today, and I'm still trying to work through it because it's a new perspective that I have. So, if any of you follow me on social media, you'll know that for me, my relationship with my body, my self-care, my self-love is one of my life themes. I talk about it a lot, and I try and do it in a way to show that I am feeling this, and I think a lot of other people are going through this same life theme. What I realized today was my desire that I'm trying to break myself of now because I feel like it was unhealthy and detrimental and not based in self-love. But my belief patterns several years ago, and that I'm still unraveling, around what my body should look like, what I should be eating, and why, was shown to me today in the whole new perspective of addiction. So when you think about addiction, whether it's to drugs or alcohol, food, exercise, sex, the addictive behavior is an attachment to something because it allows you to numb or distract yourself from a wound, something that's not whole within you. For me, going to the gym, being really strict about my exercise regimen and the food that I consumed was an addictive behavior because it allowed me to think that with this strict with these strict habits, I was creating a body, an outward physical form that would be accepted by others. But the wound really in me is around not accepting myself. It's all about self-love. So what I was doing with that was I was trying to mask this inability to accept myself no matter what with trying to conform my outer form so that at least the outer world would accept me, or at least I would be adhering to what the outer world was prescribing to me was the accepted body and the body that people wanted to see. So addictive behavior in thoughts especially is something that this month may bring up for you. Or it could be just addictive behavior if you're having issues, you realize, with alcohol and other things too. But again, it's about numbing yourself to a wound that you have. And the mastering self, the number 11, and the master teacher month is going to want you to kind of break through that pattern of addiction, to look beneath it and see what's there inside of you that's really asking to be healed and to be seen. So the last thing that I have as a theme is sovereignty. And that's actually, I think, a theme in reality for this whole year. So where last year we really were separated from others in the outer world, I think what's coming of it is this blossoming of a wanting to live life for ourselves a little more. So we were able to see aspects of our life that maybe were completely taking over and distracting us from connecting with self and from knowing what we wanted in life. And we see that in a lot of people. I just read an article the other day about how a lot of people are just handing in their resignations to work and they don't want to go back. Or a lot of people are recognizing this past year the opportunities that were given them to connect with their family and to be home with their kids and see their husband more and just be able to have that time with the people that they love. So sovereignty, I think, is actually a result of that and is a theme for the whole year. But when it relates to this mastering self, master teacher month, it is asking you to make decisions for yourself, not based on what the world is telling you you should be believing. And so this comes back to that trigger moment with the spiritual channels that I was watching, and those people having their truth and stating it as if it were the truth, or at least me seeing it that way, but it really was kind of implied, truly. And being able to decide whether that truth that they were holding fits you or not. And that's really empowering when you can take that step. Because I think we all recognize right now in this world, it's all about opinions and facts to back up opinions. No matter what opinion you have, you can find facts to back it up. So it's become very hard sometimes to differentiate between truths and untruths. And I think what it's really coming down to is we're being bombarded and inundated with this. So what do we fall back on? We need to fall back on our intuition and our gut feeling. And we need to recognize that everyone may have a different truth, or those people may have the same truth as you and those don't. But you really need to be able to decide based on what feels right to you, based on the life that you want to live, on the purpose that you see having in this world, on the world that you want to create and that you want to live in. That sovereignty in knowing those things allows you then to make choices that are always going to be the right ones for you, regardless of what the world is telling you about them. So that was the second thing that I got from my trigger moment. And the last message is to just be bold. So here I am making a video about June energies, and now I'll show you the cards that I got for it as well. Now, I'm not a trained tarot card reader. I do it very intuitively. And I am recording this on my laptop, so the images are going to be a little bit backwards. And I'll show you the cards in the order that they came out. So for June 2021, I got the 5 of Swords. And at first I really focused on the 2 swords that I thought he was holding and the 2 on the ground. And then I realized that he actually has 2 already up in his hand. So I think there's something about us not recognizing what we actually are holding, what we already have in our arsenal of tools to help us gain our sovereignty and empower ourselves to make choices that are true for us, whether the world agrees with it or not, whether our families agree with it or not, but also the tools to dive deep. So you see this person he's looking backwards at the others that are leaving their swords behind, but he's facing a different direction. I also see the perspective of he is much larger than them. And yes, they're walking away, but this is the idea of standing in power. He doesn't look defeated. He's picking up these other swords, even though these people have left them behind, maybe thinking they don't need them anymore or feeling that they're too defeated to use them. And he's going to take these and use them as his tools all the more. So I think June is really about maybe some battles, a little bit of challenges. Looking within and finding wounds and healing wounds is never an easy thing. But it's really about knowing that you can and that you have the tools to do it. The second card was the Wheel of Fortune card, reversed. So there's something out of balance here. And I think this is that perspective of if you're always taking in from the outer world and relying on the outer world to define you and what you should be doing and when you should be doing it and how often you should be doing it and who you are and all those labels, you're going to find yourself slave to the devil. And the devil as in the shadow side. So what June really wants you to do is to be aware of the shadow side, but not to become overwhelmed by it. So remember that you have the tools. The others may not see it that way, but that doesn't mean that you have to. The third card was the 4 of Cups. So cups are all about emotions, intuition, kind of that the sense self. feelings. And you see there are 3 cups standing up in front of this man sitting under the tree. But he's got his arms folded. He's being offered another one, but he's refusing to take it, even though it's coming from inspiration, from spirit, from God, from universe, from source. So you need to be willing to take those moments that will arise in June, that could be learning moments for you. And you need to be willing to take the inspiration that your higher self, your soul, your gut, God, however you want to define where it's coming from, but be willing to listen to that 6th inner sense instead of listening to facts or opinions. And you need to be willing to accept that cup, but also to see that you've been offered many other of these intuitive moments. And they are right there in front of you, just waiting. Intuition has placed them all there. You have all the tools that you need. All right, so the 4th cup is again cups. This is the 6 of cups. So I think because we have 2 cup cards now with that intuitive feeling theme, that it's really important that we go within and that we give ourselves space to listen to that inner voice. Not only to listen, but to give it a chance, to try it out, see how it works for us, see how we feel when we're following our gut. You'll feel much lighter if it's the right step for you. And usually following your intuition is the way that you need to go. So you see here, you have the 2 children, the cups are full of flowers. It's a very uplifting feeling. So this is what will come to you if you do open yourself up to listen to that guidance. If children are depicted here, to me that gives a very, yes, fairy tale-like quality, but when you think of fairy tales, the children are the ones who always believe in magic. They believe in intuition. They believe in help from God, from magical creatures. They have hope. And I think that's what they want you to know, that it may be hard, there may be battles, you're going to have to look at your shadow side when sometimes we just don't want to face it, but that's that addictive behavior that we need to see through in order to get to that wound. And then if you accept some of those intuitive gifts and start opening yourself up to listening to that voice, hope and growth and spring-like energies are going to come from it. The last card was the Chariot card, but reversed. So when the Chariot's upright, it's about quick forward movement. There's a lot happening, a lot going on, and it's going to go by like that. Like you have to pay attention. But when it's reversed, it kind of has the opposite feeling to it. There might be some frustration because if you're a chariot driver, you're used to going fast. But this kind of work of dealing with intuition, giving yourself space, healing really deep spiritual and soul wounds, it takes time. So don't feel like by the end of June, if you've done this work, you're going to be done and it's going to be past. But where you will be is you'll be a chariot driver and you'll have the power to take that chariot and move with it when the time is right. And your gut and your intuition, your higher self, God source, they will let you know when it's time to move at a much faster pace. And I have a feeling that fall is when a lot of this momentum is going to start picking up again. So that was my intuitive reading and some of the messages I've been getting so far from my own experiences about what the June energy is like. We have a new moon, I believe on the 10th, and those energies are very much dominated by communicating. But I want to say, because that idea of addictive thought patterns that came through for me, that it is going to be about communication to self. So what's your self-talk about? Try and be very aware of how you speak of yourself. Are you using positive affirmations? Are you always criticizing yourself? Are you being overly harsh? Are your expectations always focused on what you do not have versus what you have? Maybe start keeping a journal of what kind of thoughts are going through your head, and if you see them as more towards the negative, maybe then in your journal creating some opposite, more positive based self-talk, and just reading off those affirmations to yourself every day. Maybe sit down during the new moon on the 10th and just write down all of the things that you dream and wish for yourself. And then for the rest of the month, make it a habit of every day just sitting down and reading through that letter, the new moon letter that you wrote to yourself. All right, my friends, I hope this has helped. Thank you so much for watching. And I will be back with more intuitive readings sometime, maybe not this month, but probably the beginning of July. All right, bye. Talk to you later.